All right, guys, let's get into chapter 7. Now, remember, we didn't do chapter 6. I added part of chapter 6 into chapter 5. So I encourage you to read chapter 6, but not everything. We didn't do everything in chapter 6. There was a lot of, as I told you before, there was a lot of fluff in chapter 6. So I took parts of that I thought were pertinent to the class, and I added them to chapter 5. Because it was about entrepreneurship, and I know students do enjoy talking about that. It is a subject of interest. So today, management and leadership. We've talked about leadership a little bit already, so we're going to talk about it a little bit more. And we're going to get into different aspects of management, and we're going to talk today about doing a SWOT analysis. And for those of you who are not familiar with that, that's a very, very important analytical tool that is widely used in business. All right, we're going to talk about how managers' roles are evolving because they are changing. They've actually, in my career, they've gotten a lot better. About the 4 functions of management. We're going to talk about planning and decision making, and we're going to talk about well, that'll be today. Then tomorrow or Thursday, we'll talk about organizing, leading, and controlling, which are all very important aspects of management and leadership. When you're managing, you do a lot of this stuff. We're not going to go through the objectives. You can take a look at them on your own and see what we will hit on all of them, though. I will tell you that. So first things first, let me get this up out of my way. There you go. Sheena Wright, she's the CEO of the United Way of New York. The United Way was started in New York in 1938 to fight against poverty, and it's a big part of what they still do. And she's the first woman CEO. She grew up in South Bronx, was a gifted student and athlete, and a passionate advocate for poverty, as I am as well, but I'm not at her level, of course. She was a corporate lawyer, and then she went on her way into nonprofit, into running a large nonprofit. She transformed the United Way in New York City into an activist organization that develops its own social programs and charitable funds. She's out there fighting for what she believes in, which is a huge thing. And she's a great example of modern day leadership. I mean, look at her. I love it. I love the way she's dressed. We still get into this whole, and actually it's more of an East Coast thing. The West Coast, you don't see it as much. But on the East Coast, we're still into this banker look, I like to call it, the suit with the tie, and it's stuffy, it's uninviting, and women are wear their business suits as well. And I'm like, you know what? I love working in an industry where I could be light about that stuff. In fact, when I was consulting, one of the things I told other consultants, I had the guys I worked with, they'd show up in coat and tie. I'm like, take those off. It's like, what? I'm like, you do not want to walk into a restaurant to meet with the owner looking like a banker or a lawyer. They're not going to want to talk to you. Don't do it. Be casual. So, that is part, I think, of how things have changed. We're going to get into today about how things managerially have changed or are changing. Staffing and organization. We're going to name that company. We'll name that company. I love this. Staffing and organization is one of the key challenges. It's huge that managers face because you want to stay competitive. This company's gourmet chefs cook up lunches, dinners, and snacks for its employee. The company also offers massage therapy and has an on-site gym, among other perks. So let's stop sharing for a moment. Let's do a quick poll. Don't answer verbally. I want to see who you think this is. Let's launch the poll. I gave you a few choices there. Who do you think this company is? I'd be shocked if the majority of you didn't get it right. Oh, look at that. Quick, all of a sudden there's a quick break. All right, here we go. One company is far in the lead, 2 others are kind of back, and one company is not being touched at all. All right, we'll let this go for just another few seconds. My dog just came over to you. See, if you see my shoulder going up and down like that, that's because I'm petting the dog. He has to come over and cuddle sometimes while I'm doing class. All right, come on, 15 of you. Come on, let's get a couple more people. Get in there. This is how I know you're paying attention, guys, if you participate. All right, come on. I'm going to go 15 more seconds. There's 6 of you. Well, I know one person stepped away, but the rest of you should be there. All right. All right, there we go. We got 20 people. Nice. I like that. All right, and one person. That means everyone participated. I love that. Let's share the results. Let's take a look at this. A lot of people said Amazon. A lot of people said Google. So that was really a tie. That was kind of what I was wondering, because they are both known for taking care of their people. Starbucks was up in there as well. I was like, okay, are they going to say Amazon? Are they going to say Google? The answer is Google. The company that does that is Google. But a lot of companies are starting to do that. Now, I also threw in an example just to see if you would take it. No one said Bank of America. And if you know anything about Bank of America, I understand why you didn't say Bank of America, because Bank of America is not known for taking care of their employees. My wife used to work for Bank of America. She worked for Merrill Lynch. They own Merrill Lynch, and not a great company. She's with Morgan Stanley now. She likes them a lot better. But Amazon, Starbucks, and Google, yeah, all three of those are big. So that particular example was Google. All right, very good, guys, very good. Let's go back to sharing the screen again. PowerPoint, I should say. Oh, I hate when it kicks. There we go. All right. So the answer was Google on that one. So managers today are not the bosses of old that you see in movies and even in sitcoms on TV and stuff. They're not carrot and stick, yell, carrot and stick is, you either you get the carrot or the stick. If you do what you're supposed to, you get a reward. If you do what you're not supposed to do, you get punished in some way or degraded. They've gotten away from that. They tend to be much more collaborative, which is a great way to lead as well. Managers are much better leaders now than they were, 20, 30 years ago. Because if you want to lead your people, we got to get in there with them. You got to collaborate with them. They emphasize teams and team building. We can always do more together than we can apart. I mean, a lot of people still want to do things individually, but you're still better together. They guide, train, support, and motivate and coach their employees. Coaching became a big thing back in the 80s. That was a big key term. You have to coach your staff. And it stuck. It stuck and it did well. And there were a lot of comparisons back then to football and baseball and basketball coaches and that sort of thing. And there should have been. Because when you're coaching someone, you're developing them. You're teaching them. You're training them. You're motivating them. You're not just yelling at them. Need to be skilled communicators and team players. So communication is key. We'll talk about communication in this chapter, and they need to be globally prepared. We talked about in the second chapter about global marketing, about basically global markets. I'm not really marketing, but markets. And the world gets smaller every day, man. It gets smaller every day, and you got to be on top of it. You got to be ready. Empowering employees. We touched on this as well, I think, in chapter 3. Rather than telling employees exactly what to do, managers nowadays, they give their employees a lot of independence. They make sure they're informed about decisions and how they give them the resources they need and the decision-making ability they need to take care of their customers. And then the author asks, how do you think most employees respond to this empowerment on the job? They love it. They love it. I am a big fan of this. I have always been a big fan of this. Give your employees, let your employees are dealing, your employees, and I would throw in your frontline supervisors and managers too, are dealing directly with your guests. Give them the ability to take care of your guest if there's a problem. Don't let it hang. Don't let it wait. No, let them handle it, because I'll give you an example, and I probably have talked about this before, but if not, I'm going to throw out this example. When I used to run restaurants, I was a general manager. One thing I did not want to happen is if a customer has a problem at a table, say they got the wrong drink, or there was something wrong with their food, or they didn't get the right food, or whatever it is, I don't want the waiter or waitress running around looking for a manager. Because let me tell you one thing about restaurants: you can never find a manager when you need one. It's just the way that they're set up and the way that they're run. Managers are getting pulled left and right all over the place. And when you want a manager, you can never find one. Because while that server or that waiter or waitress, that server is running around, what's the guest doing? The guest is sitting there waiting. That's what the guest is doing. They're sitting there just waiting. Yeah, okay, well, great. Now I gotta wait for an hour for my food. No, take care of it. Take the plate, take it back to the kitchen, get it fixed, then come and get me. I want the guest taken care of. I want any problem that happens handled immediately. That's empowering people. And that's what he's talking about here. And we touched on this. I'm trying to remember exactly what chapter. It might have been the third one, I think. But we touched on empowering. 4 functions of management, and it's what we're going to go through in the lecture today and on Thursday. The process is used to accomplish organizational goals through planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. And we're going to talk about each one of them. And a manager has to be able to do all four. And it's a lot. And you're going to see that as we get through this chapter. It gives you a really good idea. It's a lot. I'm teaching, I'm actually excited. This summer, they have me teaching at Nova. I'm going to be teaching Business 200, Principles of Management. So in that class, we'll really get into all this planning and organizing and all that. So it's Business 200. I'll be teaching this class, Business 100 as well. But you guys hopefully won't need to take it again. Let's hope we don't have anyone who needs to take it again. This is a good graph that the author gives you, and he breaks down all four. Well, what is planning? Well, setting organizational goals is huge. Developing strategies to reach those goals, because you have to have a way to get to your goals once you develop them. Determining what resources you need and setting up precise standards. All businesses have standards of how they operate. And that's part of the planning process, because we all have to be on the same page. We all have to be doing things the same way. That's part of also organizing, by the way. But you set up precise standards. Here are how things are to be done. Organizing is allocating your resources. It's assigning your tasks. It's establishing procedures to accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish in your organization. Preparing a structure, an organizational chart, and we've talked about that. Showing lines of authority and responsibility, and that's the main thing an organizational chart does. You see them; they got the CEO at the top, and then it goes down from there. It also shows you the lines of communication. That's how the lines in the organization. That's how you communicate. You go to your boss goes to their boss. But it also shows authority and responsibility. That next bullet point, we could teach a whole class on. Recruiting, selecting, training, and developing employees. We could teach an entire semester just on that. I've given seminars on this. I've worked with companies on getting their training up and running, on how to properly select employees, which is really hard to do. Because I'm going to tell you what, man, I don't care what business you're in. There are people out there who interview great and they don't work out when you get them there. It happens to everybody. Placing employees where they'll be most effective. I don't call it that. I used to always call it aces in places. Put your aces in places. Put your best people where you need them. Just like a football coach does, just like a baseball manager does, right? You put your aces in places. You put the ones that are going to be strongest in their strongest positions. And the ones that need to learn, you put them by them. Oh, well, look at my camera fell just a little bit. All right, I think I got it. If you see the top of my head, that's fine. You can still hear me. Leading. You can teach leading. A lot of cultures think you can't. You can. You can teach leading. Some people are naturally better leaders than others. I believe that. But everyone can learn it, and everyone can become a better leader. It's about guiding and motivating employees so you can accomplish what you need to accomplish. Giving assignments, but also explaining routines, not just barking out orders, but explaining routines, clarifying what company policies are. And you'll do a lot of that, especially when there's change. People don't like change. When you change things, they get scared. So you'll clarify what's going on and providing feedback on performance. Going back and saying, okay, here's where you are. Here's where we'd like you to be. How do we get you there? It's not always that, but it should be. There should be some aspect of that in everyone's review. No one's review should ever be perfect, because then what are you going to do for the next review? We could always use improvement, every one of us. Controlling. In my business, you hear them talk about costs. A lot of your controlling comes from accounting. We calculate a food cost that we want to hit as a goal each month. We calculate a liquor, beer, and wine cost that we want to hit as goals each month. We calculate labor cost. That's what we want to hit as a goal each month. By the way, in the restaurant hotel business, labor, your number one controllable cost. When I mean controllable, I mean not your rent. Like, you can't control your rent. You can't really control your insurance, stuff like that. But you can control your labor because you schedule your people. And it's usually your biggest cost. A lot of people think it's food cost. It's not. It's your labor cost. Monitoring performance relative to standards. Evaluating, watching them, walking on that factory floor, walking through the offices, making sure people are doing what they should be doing, not being a dictator and yelling if they're having a little bit of downtime or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. but making sure that things are getting accomplished that need to be accomplished. In a restaurant, we do a lot of that because there's always a lot going on. Rewarding outstanding performance when you see it and taking corrective action when you have to. And we'll get into that. But those two bottom ones, leading, controlling, that's mainly going to be on Thursday. We'll talk about that. So what are some of the changes happening in management today? Well, there's such a couple things on here that we didn't go over yet. I'm not sure why he threw this under test prep. He didn't have it in previous slides, but that's okay. We talked about them being more facilitators, and they tend to emphasize team building. Managers tend to be younger nowadays. They're coming in at younger ages of managing, which is a good thing because they're learning earlier. Fewer attend elite schools and more are women. I'll tell you what, in my business, when I first came in, there were hardly any women managers. And there's more now. There's a lot of them, and it's good. It's beneficial. It's beneficial to the whole industry. And managers will conduct more business globally. And you will. You will. Every company gets more global every day. What's the definition of management? The one that he gives you in the chapter is right there. The process to accomplish organizational goals through planning, organizing, leading, and controlling people and other organizational resources. A lot of different definitions for management, but that's the one the author gives you. And it's a good one. That's a good definition. What are the four functions of management? Well, you plan, you organize, you lead, and you control. And again, that's what we're going to mainly be talking about in this chapter. Again, guys, we could teach this whole chapter as a semester. We easily could teach this whole chapter as a semester. So, setting the organization's vision, goals, and objectives. Vision is a planning tool. It's where you're seeing what you want to be. The way the author puts it is that it's more than a goal, and it is. An encompassing explanation of why the organization exists and where it's trying to go. It's not a mission statement. That's different. We're going to talk about that too. This is our vision. This is who we want to be. This is what we want to do. This is where we want to go. It's usually set by top management, and it's usually set when they're first starting the company. At least the original vision is. Goals are broad, long-term accomplishments an organization wishes to attain. They're larger. Objectives are smaller. They're more specific. They're short-term statements dealing on how you're going to achieve the goals. So the goals are here. The objectives are here, and then we're going to talk about how to get to the objectives as well. Planning is how we do the whole thing. Planning is what helps managers understand the environment in which their business model is operating. Now, when they talk about the environment, they're talking about their business environment, their competitors and all that, but also their corporate culture, right? The way they behave inside of their own buildings. And this is a great example. When COVID-19 pandemic forced restaurants to practice social distancing, hell, it closed a lot of them at first, but then they had to social distance. Food service managers need to be ready to respond with operations alternatives. So let's jump out of sharing real quick. And guys, jump on chat real fast. All of you went to restaurants during COVID, I'm sure. What changes did you see? What did they have to do? Jump on chat real quick. Tell me. Make sure you're doing everyone so everyone can see it. Barriers between tables, yep. Digital menus with QR codes, yeah. Everyone was digital ordering. Glass at the front, yeah. Glass at the front to talk to people. Tables were further apart, a lot further apart, which meant you had to reduce the number of tables, which meant you couldn't bring in as much money. Because tables are money. Tables and chairs are money. Menu cuts, yeah. They cut a lot of their menus back for cost reasons. Limited seating, absolutely. They spread their tables out and blocked some off. The QR codes were a big one. And by the way, they're still being used. They got popular and people liked them. There's a lot of places now. I'm using that QR code. I'm not just ordering with it. I'm paying my bill as well on that thing. And it's pretty cool. Space out the tables, lower capacity, laminated menus to make them easier to clean. Absolutely. Limit the number of customers in the restaurant. Yeah, they had to. That was hard. The rest of the hospitality industry went through a really rough time with all that. Limited time to sit at a table. Yeah, I forgot about that actually, Jasmine. A lot of them did do that. They would say, okay, you could sit here for like an hour and a half. That's it. Visible and increased sanitation. By the way, guys, going back to that limited table time, the reason they do that was to try to turn that table. Because that was, they had limited tables. They had to get rid of tables. So that was a way of making money, was turning the one or two tables you had more often to get more money out of them. Visible and increased sanitation. Yeah, there was sanitizer everywhere. QR codes. Yeah, again, QR menus, everyone hit on that one. A lot of online orders. Oh yeah, they had to get better at that because a lot of them weren't very good at it, and they had to get better at it quick. More use of doorsteps, online order stuff, absolutely. Yeah, the doorstep, you come up, they deliver it out to you. A whole section made for DoorDash and Uber Eats. Yeah, a lot of places did, and they did them outside, right? Like they bring the food out, the DoorDash guy would come, and they wait outside with the masks on. Less commonly touch areas and subject bowls and mints. Yeah, those are still gone. Curbside orders, absolutely. I'll tell you what, the other one is buffets. I want to see how much buffets come back. There was an old company, Steak and Ale. They went out of business years ago. I worked for them. I worked for Bennigan's, which was another restaurant chain that they owned. And they're coming back. They're coming back in the Midwest. They're actually, some guys have bought it and they're redoing it. And they're putting back some of the old stuff, but they're kind of modernizing it. Well, it was a casual steakhouse, but it was very upscale looking. It was very nice, but it was affordable. There used to be hundreds of them around the country back in like the 70s and 80s when I was a kid, probably 60s, 70s, and 80s actually. But their main thing was the salad bar. They were known for their salad bar. And I was shocked in the article I was reading when they said they're going to still have their salad bar. I'm like, okay, wow. All right, because salad bars are, they're a little bit on the outs right now. They really are. Okay, let's get back into this. And it's for sanitation reasons. It's because of COVID, Yeah, I'm sorry, but little kids, at the salad bar, sticking their hands in everything and, that sneeze guard doesn't cover them. Yeah, it's a big deal. All right. One more thing. Okay, one more. We got to get going. Okay, Jasmine. Oh, Golden Corral in Florida. Yeah, I bet it's a lot different now because especially like a Golden Corral where you have an older clientele. Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it was a lot different. A mission statement is different than a vision statement. It's an outline of the fundamental purpose the organization serves. Here's what we do. It's the organizational self-concept. It's usually very philosophical. It's what it needs to survive long term. Its customers' needs. What need is it providing for its guests? And we're going to get more into that when we talk about marketing and needs and wants. It's social responsibility, and we have talked about corporate social responsibility already, but that would be part of the mission statement and the nature of its product or service. So a mission statement is different than vision. Vision is here's where we're going. Mission is here's who we are. That's how that one works. All right. Planning to answer 2 fundamental questions. All right. We're going to come back to this. Let me see where we are. Yeah, we're going to come back to this. Actually, what time is it? Yeah, let's come back to this. Let's take a little over 10 minutes. Let's come back at 1:25. Give you guys a quick break. Because then the rest of this, we kind of have to do it together. We're going to break up into groups here a little bit. We're going to work on something. You guys will enjoy it. It'll be fun. But it's like 13 after. Let's come back at 1:25. All right. And we'll finish. We'll do the second half class. Okay. See you guys shortly. All right, for those of you back, all we did was, we started recording late. All we did was watch the video on how to write a SWOT analysis, and it's in your Canvas. So go ahead and watch that video if you didn't watch it with us in class. All right. So the next video is a SWOT analysis about Starbucks. What I want you guys to focus on when you're watching this, when they do the strengths and weaknesses, when they do the opportunities and threats, I want you to focus on how the strengths and weaknesses are internal to the company, and how the opportunities and threats are external to the company. This is very key in writing a SWOT analysis, or you won't get it right. If you don't, it won't be as helpful. People reading it have to know that, okay, this is something from outside, this is something from inside. So strengths and weaknesses come from inside, opportunities and threats come from outside. Hold on, let me get to this. All right, oh no, thank you. All right, another quick video.
Okay, great. So in this lesson, our goal would be to apply the SWOT framework in practice. Shouldn't be that difficult, right? The company we'll examine is Starbucks, the well-known U.S. coffee company and coffeehouse chain. It was founded in Seattle in 1971 and operates in several countries around the world. Let's start with the company's strengths. First, almost everyone knows its brand, right? So it definitely has a strong brand recognition. Starbucks has been proclaimed the most recognized coffee brand in the world, quite an advantage regarding other companies in the industry. The firm's brand is one offering of a differentiated product to customers, which is coherent with its strategy and pricing. Clients have expressed they love the atmosphere in Starbucks coffee houses. They can use free Wi-Fi and enjoy the coffee drinking experience to the fullest. The company owns thousands of outlets around the world, and its clients can find it even when traveling overseas. That's a strong advantage, as it ensures loyal clients can remain such even overseas. And finally, Starbucks supply chain management ensures the quality of coffee served to customers is excellent. The company chooses its suppliers carefully, which improves the quality of its products and ensures clients receive a super coffee experience. This is another choice in sync with its differentiation strategy. Okay, very good. Let's take off our rosy glasses and consider some of the firm's weaknesses. One could argue Starbucks offers the same product in all countries where it operates. It does not customize it according to the different tastes of people in different geographies. For some customers, this is an issue, and they prefer competitor products tailored to their specific geographical preferences. In addition, Starbucks has a premium price policy, which is not in line with most customers' expectations. Not all countries have enough middle and high-income class individuals who can afford to pay extra for their coffee. Weakness number 3 would be the high employee turnover that the chain's coffee shops have. It is difficult to serve coffee as a premium product when the company's baristas have been on the job for only a couple of weeks. In terms of opportunities, we can say the following. Starbucks can access new countries easily. It simply has to apply its existing business model in these new geographies. Emerging markets can be a great source of growth for the company. Starbucks has also entered agreements within the entertainment industry and partnered with movie-producing companies. That can be a great opportunity for the firm, too. One of the biggest threats for Starbucks is the saturation of the American market, which is where most of its outlets are located. Consumers are increasingly invested in healthier lifestyle, and some substitute products are better positioned to capture the attention of the health-conscious clientele. Okay, we'll stop here. This is what a SWOT analysis looks like in practice. The depth of the observations included in the analysis depends on the information we have about the company. I'm sure an industry practitioner would be capable to prepare a much deeper analysis. However, the important point is you now know how to perform a SWOT analysis on your own, and you can distinguish the...
Look at that, guys. Look at the strengths, weaknesses, and then the opportunities and threats. Notice how the strengths and weaknesses are internal to the company. High employee turnover is a weakness. Not easily affordable in all countries is a weakness. Product not customized to local taste. Whereas the threats and the opportunities are much different. Stop sharing here. So that is the main gist. Is your strengths and weaknesses are about you. The opportunities and threats are about what's out there. What opportunities do you have out there? What threats do you have coming from out there? So let's get back into real quick. All right. So you're looking at what the situation is right now. And that's what a SWOT analysis does. How to get to your goal from here to your strategical, tactical, operational, and contingency planning, which we're going to talk about next. But a SWOT analysis is a great way. By the way, you can do a SWOT analysis of any organization, profit or nonprofit. You can do a personal SWOT analysis. I mean, people do. This is a widely used program. Now, this is a great example from the author. But what I'm going to do is we're going to get back to this. I'm going to split you into groups. And what I want you to do in your groups, I'll give you like 10 minutes. What I want you to do in your groups is pick someone to speak at the end. All right. Someone needs to speak for the group, just amongst you. I'm going to put you in 3 groups. So you have like 6, 7 people in each group. But do a SWOT analysis on Nova. All of you attend Nova, you know Nova. You know what the college is like. Try to give me 3 in each category: 3 strengths, 3 weaknesses, 3 opportunities, and 3 threats. 3 threats. Yeah, try to say that for Nova. All right, let's break out into rooms. Sign automatically. I'm going to create 3 rooms. All right. I'm opening them, and the rooms are going to be randomly, guys. I do not choose them. I shared this to all the rooms, so you guys would have it. All right, guys, about 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes, we'll wrap it up. All right. All right, we're back. All right, group one. Let's start with group one. Who's speaking for group one?
I'll be speaking for group one.
All right. All right, Joe, you guys, tell me what you guys got. This is Joe.
All right,
and Veronica?
so say again.
Is this Joe and Veronica?
I'm sorry.
Well,
I was wondering both of you were speaking for the group. That's all.
Oh no, I'm not speaking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, that's quite all right. Joe, go ahead.
all right, so for strengths, we had cheap tuition. Well, relatively very cheap compared to other colleges. I think that's agreeable. It's very accessible to people in the area. There's a very flexible schedule, and our transfer program is another big strength that we have, another big motivator for people to go to Nova.
Oh, yeah.
Weaknesses, we would say there's it's not a normal college campus with dorms and other commodities that other college campuses do have. There's less programs such as athletics than some other bigger colleges have, and there's no 4-year program, which is a very staple college thing.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
opportunities.
no, we're a community college, but you're right. It could be considered a weaknesses. All right, go ahead.
Opportunities. We thought there was a big opportunity to build more campuses. I had one person in the group recommend places around Percival. We have an opportunity to have newer programs such as 4-year programs, just more longevity to keep people in the area if people are working and don't want to have to go away. And there's a huge opportunity to create a focus on athletics and compete with local colleges like George Mason and Marymount. And then
Okay.
threats were We only got 2 for these. We didn't quite finish, but we had
That's
competing
the hardest one,
programs.
dude.
Huh?
That's the hardest one.
Yeah, but what we thought threats were competing programs that are strictly online and generally cheaper. I forget the name of them. It's like there's strictly online programs. I forget what they're called. But we also thought another threat was there's a lot of there's less safety than other college campuses offer because we are such an open campus at really just in a regular old city, less of a college town, which does
Okay,
add to some threat.
Here's why, guys, and this is a great example. That's a great list, Joe. It's a very good list. But your last one there, that's a weakness. See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
internal.
no.
It's internal. So it's a weakness. And by the way, everyone, when you do these, and we did a quick one, I only gave you like 10 minutes, but when you do these, here's the deal. Weaknesses and threats are the hardest one. And it's hard to distinguish them sometimes. Hard to distinguish it. All right, Joe, good job. Group 1, good job. How about group 2? Who's talking for group 2?
I am talking for group 2.
All right,
Strength of
Sean.
Nova actually we went over a few of these with the last group, and I imagine a lot of them are going to be similar to this.
They probably will be. That's fine. Go ahead.
Comparably to other colleges in the region, we have affordable tuition. We have a decent variety of classes for the community college and spread out campuses so that you're not screwed over if you live somewhere, if you don't live right next to it.
Very good. Yes.
Weaknesses: the website is terrible. There's not a lot of communication when trying to get support. There's not a lot of programs compared to four-year colleges, and a general lack of presence, as they don't really advertise themselves. They just kind of acknowledge as a thing that exists rather than trying to give themselves any presence.
So one of their weaknesses is their marketing.
Yes, that's what we wrote, advertising, but it felt kind of awkward.
When you start talking overall like that, you're talking marketing.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Very good. How about opportunities and threats?
There could be smoother transfers to four-year colleges, options, more expanding online classes and hybrid classes, maybe trade school programs and certifications. Maybe expanding into trade skills and certifications. For threats, lessened enrollment due to the aforementioned lack of presence, being stolen from four-year colleges, and possibly some decreased motivation from easier classes given the given the community college.
Threats are hard, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a college. There's not
of the 4, it's the hardest one. That first one I would say is a little more of a weakness, but sometimes you can turn weaknesses. They evolve because of threats, and that's why the two can kind of blend together a little bit. No, but you guys are getting the idea. Good job, Sean. Good job. Okay, let's do group 3. We need to get moving. Who's speaking for group 3?
I'm gonna speak for group 3.
All right, Zach, what you got?
Yeah, we didn't quite get to 3 for everyone, but
All right, go ahead.
for
Don't give you
strength,
much time.
yeah, for strengths, it's the flexibility with classes, especially online. You can either taking them fully remote or the times available are not good, and then the number of campuses, because basically those two just add together for more availability for potential students. And then so those are the 2. We only did 2 for strengths. Weaknesses is at the campuses, sometimes the in-person classes aren't at like the greatest times. Some of them are really late at night, and they really only will offer them at that time. And then another weakness, I think we did have a second one. I forgot what it was. I don't know if any of my group mates would want to jump in and say what that second one was, but
Okay, keep going.
okay. So for opportunities, it could be, we brought up the parking. So we brought either the availability of adding another campus. It was kind of similar to the first group said, or just expanding and making parking cheaper, because then more students would be able to attend in person if they didn't want to online.
Okay. All right.
And then the last one was threats, which is just bigger universities, people wanting to go to a 4-year college, or like an actual on campus, like a campus living situation.
Yeah,
And
it's a community college is a different experience because of that. I mean, Nova is a big community college and they offer a lot. They do, but however, it's not like going to George Mason or WVU or Virginia Tech or Maryland, or it's not this. No community college is going to be the same as that. So you guys, right, guys, everybody, good job on these the weaknesses and the threats. That's why I like doing it as an exercise, to kind of get you some practice, because the weaknesses and the threats are the hardest part. They really honestly are. All right. Let's move on here. Good job on that, everyone. Let's move on here to our, where are we? There we go. So no need to go over this. You already saw it. And we already talked about it. And again, good job with the SWOT analysis. But this is a great chart that the author gives you to really look and see what a SWOT analysis, how it works, and some examples of what it's all about. Come on, there we go. So after you analyze yourself, you get back into planning, but you got to analyze first. There's types of planning. Strategic planning is the biggest one. These are the major goals of your organization and the policies and strategies that you will use and the resources you'll use to achieve those goals. These are usually done by the higher level management, right? The CEOs and the CFOs and the vice presidents and all that. Tactical planning is developing sorry guys, I got a message, my internet's unstable. Hopefully everyone's can hear me. It doesn't seem to be any problems. Tactical planning, developing detailed short-term statements about what is to be done. This is usually done by middle management. Figure out who's going to do it, how it's going to be done, and what needs to be done to achieve the strategic plans. Operational planning, like in my world, would be done in the restaurant itself by like the general manager. General manager would be involved with he's the top manager in a restaurant, or if you're a retail store, it's the same thing. They would be involved with the tactical planning, but then they would be in charge of the operational planning, setting work standards and schedules necessary to get where you need to be. And contingency planning, which is being ready when things happen, and things will happen. I guarantee you, life throws you curveballs. Business throws you curveballs. It's not uncommon. Some of your planning functions, not all firms make contingency plans, and it's wrong. You're going to get hurricanes. You're going to get blizzards. You're going to get work stoppages. You're going to get bad economy. I mean, or worse yet, good economy, and you weren't ready for it. All of a sudden things pick up, and COVID was an example of that, right? We came out of COVID. It's probably the reason that it's not the only reason, but it's a big part of the reason why we're experiencing the inflation we've been experiencing. We talked about this in chapter 2, the economics chapter. There was really no way, I guess, to have a contingency plan for that, because we'd never gone through it before, or actually the last time we did was like 100 years ago. But everyone, all of a sudden there was this boom. The vaccine brought everyone out of COVID, whereas we could finally interact with each other again, and you had all this demand and supply couldn't keep up with it. Maybe we should have done a little better. I don't know if we could have, be honest with you. Maybe we when we shut down a little too hard in certain areas, not in all areas, but certain areas. Maybe we should have kept some trucks moving and that type of thing. But again, those would be contingency plans. All right, so he gives you a good graph here. Strategic planning is the broad, long-range goal type plans. Tactical is more specific. It's more objectives to obtain the goals. Operational planning is the work standards and the schedules in the actual operations to get you where you need to be. And contingency planning is being ready when something happens. Being ready when something happens. We actually have one in restaurants that almost all restaurants have. And if you ever worked in restaurants, you've heard of this. It's called a crash kit. And what the crash kit is right now is all the computer systems. All restaurants use point of sale computer systems. They ring their checks up, the employees clock in on the systems, but they also put in all their guest orders, and they close out their guest orders. They run their credit cards through it. Well, there was a time we didn't do it that way. There was a time it was all done manually. And honestly, that time wasn't all that long ago. So restaurants will have crash kits, and it has the old manual equipment that you would need if the computer system goes down. And you have to teach your employees how to use it, because especially your younger employees have never seen a manual credit card swiper and the old credit card slips with the carbon in them to make copies. And, it's stuff you just don't see anymore. But if your computers go down, you have to have that. That would be a contingency plan, a smaller contingency plan, but a contingency plan. So planning requires decision making, and that's choosing among two or more alternatives and finding the best one. And the author gives you what he calls the 4 Ds of decision making. Define the situation, describe and collect needed information, develop alternatives, which you always need to do. Anytime you're doing a decision, have alternatives just in case. Decide which alternative is best, but also decide one of those alternatives might be a good contingency plan, and think about that. Do what is indicated and determine whether the decision's a good one and follow up. This is a good plan, a good way of list for decision making. The problem with this is it's assuming you have time to make the decision. Sometimes you don't have time to put this kind of thought process. Some decisions in business need to be quick, and you don't have time to do all this. But when you are doing a bigger decision where you do have time to do all this, this is a good list. It is a good list. There are best alternatives when you're trying to find it. Problem solving is just that. It's a process of trying to solve everyday problems. I've always worked with my managers on defining specifically what the problem is. People try to find solutions instead of defining the problem. And I'll give you a basic example. I walk into the room, I turn a switch, and the light doesn't come on. What's wrong? And I'll ask the students, and I'll get answers. I'll get it could be the wiring, there could be a fuse blown, all this stuff. Those are possible solutions. Problem is the light didn't come on. All right. That's the way you got to think to really, because that is a very basic, easy example. When you're doing more difficult things, though, you got to make sure the problem is prevalent and you don't go around it somehow. All right. So always define exactly what the problem is. Brainstorming is a great way to put ideas together. Brainstorming is when you're coming up, you have a group of people and they all come up with as many solutions as possible. I've run these sessions before. There's no such thing as a bad one. There's no bad ideas. Whatever what anyone yells out, you put it up on the board, right? You do like a whiteboard. Then you start eliminating them after that, but it gets all the ideas out there. PMI is a program management thing. It's where you put your pluses in one column and your minuses in another, and then the implications of them in a third column. And that's another way of putting decisions together as well. So what's the difference between goals and objectives? Well, just remember that goals are more broad and long-term. Objectives are more short and specific and help you achieve your goals. What does a company analysis do? A company analyzes when it does a SWOT. They're looking at their strengths and weaknesses, which are internal, and their opportunities and threats, which are external. What are the differences among strategic, tactical, and operational planning? Well, we just finished talking about this. Strategic planning is more long-term. It's the upper management does it. Tactical planning is usually your middle management and your store management, or operations management, if you would. Then your operational planning is usually done inside the factory or store or whatever it is you have. And that's where they're setting work schedules and standards and that type of thing. So it just progresses down, but each one feeds back up into achieving the other ones. And what are the 6 Ds of decision making? Well, we just went over those. I'm not going to go over them again, but there they are. Now that stop isn't to mean that you need to stop anything. That was to remind me to stop, because I didn't want to keep going and start getting into next week's lecture or Thursday's lecture. And actually, it's perfect time to stop. Perfect time to stop. Okay, screen share is shot. Perfect. Because it's just a couple minutes after 2. So perfect.